Alright, we are live, ladies and germs. And yes, this review is coming a week late, but let's just say some personal shit got in the way. But one thing I will say for certain is I watched this. This was probably, in all honesty, one of the most overrated races of the year. Because the dick sucking I've been seeing from a lot of NASCAR fans and NASCAR YouTubers saying how good this race was just makes me want to fucking puke. This race was not as good as you thought it was. Okay? And that's just first off. So, without further ado, let's get into it. This is the fuel. What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the Packer Man, and welcome to today's edition, today's first edition of the Fuel, where in this first edition we're going to be, I'm going to be reviewing the race I should have reviewed last week, but a lot of other shit got in the way. The 2022 Ambetter 301 at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I want to get this one done and over with because the Pocono race starts in about an hour and a half. So all of the news of the week shit, and there's a lot of it, coming out of the past week or two. There's going to be lots of shit to talk about, so I'll save that for the Pocono review tonight. But one thing I do want to talk about before we get into this review is holy fucking shit. This race was probably the most overrated race of the entire season thus far. Because after the race was over, I saw a lot of people online saying, oh, this was a great race, this was a fun race, and you have, NASCArtubers like the Iceberg, who did his post-race review, and he had his race titled, this was a fun race, and you had Eric Estep saying that it was a good race, and I'm just sitting there thinking, I mean, do these people just, leave out the fact that stages 1 and 2 was fucking garbage? I mean, it's almost like these people just, forget about stages 1 and 2, which was fucking trash, just focus on stage 3 and say, well, since stage 3 was good, that means the entire race as a whole was good. No. 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 Okay? Stages 1 and 2 were fucking trash! Did you hear me? It was fucking trash. Okay? For some of these guys, especially for the Icebergs review, what it should have said was, Stage 3 was fun. Because the race didn't get good until the third and final stage. That's when it finally started to get good, at least a little bit. But the fact that there are a lot of people saying, oh, this was a good race, this is one of the best races of the year, bull fucking shit. I mean, and then Iceberg on Twitter had the all-mitigated goal to say, you know, people who saying that this race was bad, you know, look like idiots now. Way to be a condescending douchebag, Iceberg. Good job. Sorry some of us have higher standards than you evidently fucking do. That shit really fucking pisses me off. You know, it really does. Because this race does not deserve the credit that it got. Now, am I saying it was the worst race of the year? No. The third stage, you know, was actually pretty solid in a lot of cases. But let's be honest here. Even the final 40, I mean, once Christopher Bell got the lead, the last 40 laps felt flat as fuck. So part of stage 3 was actually really good and saved this from being an absolute horrid race. But let's be completely honest here. This race does not deserve the credit that it's been getting. So, and if you don't like what I say, there you go. Fuck yourself. You know? This is my personal fucking opinion based on my personal preferences. Okay? And say, well, you don't really watch the racing. Bitch, I take fucking notes meticulously every single fucking week. So you can't fucking tell me that I can't review these races, you know, without watching them as a whole. Because I watch the whole fucking thing from start to finish every single week. Give me a fucking break. Let's go ahead and get this review done and over with, because this is already starting to piss me off. Alright, so this is the 146th edition of The Field. The title of this episode, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Should be obvious why. It was the Ambetter 301. Who gives a fuck at this point? So, stages broke down like this. 70, 115, and 116. So, let's get to stage number 1, which was 70 laps. Here are my notes. So, Martin Truex Jr. starts from the pole. Truex led lap 1 as Bubba Wallace powers around Elliott for second. Bubba Wallace actually looked really good in this race. Larson gets by Byron for fifth, and then we have our first caution on lap 6. We have a multi-car crash down the backstretch. Ty Dillon tried to pass Justin Haley off turn 2, hits the door, overcorrects and goes head on into the wall, taking Alex Bowman and BJ McLeod with him. Josh Bilicki slides into the wreck trying to avoid it, so all those guys were pretty much out of the race. Truex leads on the restart. Larson and Kurt Busch battle for fourth. Larson gets by Elliott for third. Harvick then gets by Kurt Busch for fifth. Larson and Bubba Wallace battle for second. And Martin Truex Jr. wins stage 1 in dominant fashion. That was literally everything of note that happened in stage 1. And yet this was the best, one of the best races of the year. Get the fuck out of here. Very boring first stage. Everyone comes in for service, and Truex wins the race off pit road. So now we come to stage 2, which was 115 laps. This is when this race got really messy. Truex leads the start of stage 2, but we immediately get a caution on lap 78 when Kyle Busch spins off of turn 2, but somehow hangs on. His first of 2 spins. Truex leads on the restart. We have 3 wide in the mid-pack. Battle for 6 between Almirola, Bell, and Elliott. Then we have our third caution on lap 90. We have a crash in turn 2 as Harrison Burton, Michael McDowell, and Corey LaJoie crash after LaJoie snaps loose and gets into Harrison Burton. Everyone comes in for service. We have a lot of fuel only and 2 tire stops. Logano stays out and leads on the restart. There's 3 wide in the top 10. Harvick gets by Cindric for 4th. Truex gets by Buescher for 2nd. Chase Elliott gets back into the top 10 after having to come from the back for a loose wheel that get that fixed. So we have our first pure lead change on lap 121 when Martin Truex Jr. takes the lead from Logano. Battle for 3rd between Buescher, Harvick, and Larson. Harvick and Cindric get by Buescher for 4th and 5th. Then we have our 4th caution on lap 146 after Harvick gets by Larson for 3rd. And we have our 4th caution on lap 146. Ryan Blaney spins in turn 3 after getting up too high. Has some damage to the left rear. Everyone comes in for service, and Truex wins the race off pit road, so he leads on the restart. There's some 3 wide from 3rd on back. Then we have our 5th caution on lap 152, and Briscoe spins out after he gets into Cole Custer in turn 3, so teammates getting together. At the same time, Almirola reporting that he only has third gear. Truex leads on the restart. Logano gets back up to second as Elliott continues to charge toward the front. Battle for sixth between Larson, Cindric, and Bell. And we have our sixth caution on lap 163 when Kyle Busch spins again, this time off of turn 4, but still doesn't get hit or hits anything. Actually keeps it under control. And then during this caution, Austin Dillon doors Keselowski down the backstretch for whatever reason, which in turn causes Kes to really get into the side of Austin Dillon. And it's like, what the fuck happened? And then afterwards, Austin Dillon was like, well, I didn't like the way he was racing me, and I'm not going to talk to him. You know, this goes back to what I was saying last week about this field being full of nothing but a bunch of fucking prima donnas. Austin Dillon is that personified. You know, and we don't even know what the fuck, you know, happened to cause Austin Dillon to do what he did down the backstretch. Maybe he was needing some content for his piece of shit show. You know, Austin Dillon, life in the fast lane. I mean, who in the fuck gives a flying rat's helmet about Austin Dillon and what happens off the track with him on the fucking USA Network? Like, who gives a fuck about that piece of shit show? You know, maybe he was needing content for his piece of shit show, because it's pretty clear to me right now that he's not getting anything else done on the fucking racetrack. He may be a Daytona 500 winner, but the way he did it was fucking bullshit. And let's be completely honest here, Austin Dillon's a fucking bust. I mean, this guy fucking sucks. The fact that he's been in that 3 car since 2014 is a fucking travesty. Anyways, Truex leads on the restart. Elliott continues to charge forward, now up to third. Reddick moves back up into the top 10. And Martin Truex Jr. wins stage number 2, and it was a very messy stage 2. Yeah, there was also a lot of silly season shit that we're going to be talking about, because a couple of things have been happening that really became bombshells. I was checking to see if that had been if I had talked about that, and no, I hadn't. Just wanted to be sure. So Martin Truex Jr. went stage 2, very messy stage 2. We had 5 caution flags in this stage alone. Everyone comes in for service. Truex wins the race off pit road. Cindric loses a wheel on pit road, and his pit crew and crew chief get penalized for it. So there you go. So stage 3, 116 laps. Harrison Burton stays out and leads the start of stage 3. Briscoe, who also stayed out, gets the lead on the restart. Truex moves up to second. Elliott up to third. Truex around the outside of Briscoe for the race lead for a second pure lead change lap 199. Elliott and Harvick get by Briscoe for second and third. We have our 7th and final caution on lap 205 when Todd Gilliland spins in turn 4. Most everyone comes in for service at the edge of the pit window. Harvick spins Austin Dillon as Truex wins the race off pit road. He opted to get just 2 tires, which would end up costing him in the end. Kurt Busch leads on the restart. Truex gets stuck back in traffic and he's not able to make his way forward. So another New Hampshire race gets away from him. This is when the race really started to get good. Finally. Battle for 4th between Elliott, Larson, and Bell. Then we have the battle for the lead between Kurt Busch, Logano, and Chase Elliott. Kurt Busch and Logano still have to pit for fuel though if the race went green, which it actually did. The final run of race was 92 laps. So there you go. Bell gets by Custer for 4th and is chasing the top 3 down. He clearly had the fastest car on the track at this point. And it should make sense. I mean, in the Xfinity Series, he won 3 races in a row at New Hampshire. He's undefeated at New Hampshire in the Xfinity Series. And then he finished 2nd last year. Yeah. So it's pretty clear that Christopher Bell is really good at New Hampshire. Elliott gets by Logano for 2nd, and Bell tries to follow suit. There was a little bit of contact between the 9 and the 22, which reminds me, Jeff Burton in the booth really fucking pissed me off because, Ross Chastain made some contact with Keselowski off turn 4. It wasn't much contact. And we had been seeing it all weekend between the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. But Jeff Burton was like, well, that, one of the, I think it was, what's his face? Dale Jr.'s old crew chief, Steve Letarte, was saying that, well, that's New Hampshire racing for you. But Jeff Burton is like, what? He was saying something, well, Ross Chastain's got to learn not to do that. That's not New Hampshire racing, and all this other fucking bullshit. And he was basically talking trash about him, the previous week. And it's like, it seems like Jeff Burton just has a hate boner for Ross Chastain. I basically called him out on it on Twitter. It's like, dude, stop fucking hating on Ross Chastain because it's the cool thing to do. I mean, we had been seeing what happened between Chastain and Keselowski all fucking weekend. So why is this any different? Treated any different? Because Ross Chastain? Like, that's just fucking stupid to me. I mean, if he fucks up, then fine, criticize him, but when you see something like that and it's the same fucking thing that we saw all weekend, it makes you look like a fucking raging idiot. Shut the fuck up, Jeff Burton. Seriously. I very seriously considered him for reject of the race because, I mean, his, running his fucking mouth really fucking pissed me off. Because then we see it here, Elliott knocks into the 22 to get to second, and then he does the same thing with Kurt Busch fighting hard for the race lead, yet nothing was said about that, right? Fucking stupid. So Chase Elliott gets the lead for a third pure lead change in lap 247, but then Christopher Bell also clears Kurt Busch for second and challenges Elliott for the race lead, and he takes it on lap 260 for a fourth and final pure lead change of the race, and that's pretty much all she wrote as far as the race lead is concerned. Harvick and Truex get by Logano for 5th and 6th. Kurt Busch finally comes in for fuel, but also takes 4 tires. And he was basically like a bat out of hell. Again, lapped himself with 18 laps to go. Keselowski, even after all his problems, was up to 8th with 10 laps to go. Logano finally pits for fuel, and Christopher Bell wins the Ambetter 301. I mean, that's pretty much all that happened in the last 40 laps after Christopher Bell took the lead. So, yeah, this was a lackluster race overall, and the fact that some people were saying, oh, it was the best race of the year. No, it wasn't. Are we going to remember this race 10 years down the line where it was a race that blew your mind, I don't think so. This was easily one of the most forgettable races of the year for me. I mean, the first 2 stages were fucking garbage. Nothing happened in stage 1, and then stage 2 was a total caution fest. I'm sorry, that's just not good racing to me. Fucking soon. Sorry that I have an opinion and I like to speak it. At least I keep it real. Okay, if I think a race is good and certain segments of a race are good, I'm going to say it. And in this case, the beginning part of stage 3 was actually really good. The fact that we finally got a long green flag run to end the race, which was 92 laps. I mean, I like that. I'd rather, have a race go green and be boring than, have, manufactured shit with the green white checker. It's more organic. At least to me it is. I guess some people just like the manufactured shit. Which I think is fucking stupid. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. So let's get into the stats and awards, and then we'll finish this fucking review. I'm done talking about this race. So anyways, stats. Total laps was 301 laps. Stages were 70, 115, and 116. And here's another one of the reasons why I think this was not one of the best races of the year by a long shot. There were only 8 lead changes the entire race. I mean, Truex led more than half the race. It was hard to pass. So, I mean, the number of lead changes was just down big time. I mean, to be fair, half of them, 4, were pure lead changes, which is nice. But we had 7 caution flags during the race, and number of green flag passes during the race. 1,596 green flag passes, which comes out to a 6.4 average. 1,596 green flag passes. That is actually the third worst number of green flag passes of the entire season, behind only Dover and Martinsville. And yet people want to try to tell me this was the best race, one of the best races of the year. Give me a fucking break. This race was nowhere near as good as last year's New Hampshire race. If you take out the rain botch from, at the beginning of last year's race was legitimately one of the best races of 2021. But no, this race doesn't even come close to that. I'm sorry. Lap leader award went to Martin Truex Jr. He led 172 laps. Star of the race goes to Bubba Wallace. Stayed out of trouble and finished third. I mean, what more can you really say? When he stays out of trouble and his crew doesn't actually fuck up, he can actually run up front. Reject for the race goes to Austin Dillon. I mean, I don't know what the fuck he was doing with Keselowski down the backstretch, but it was just fucking stupid. And then his post-race interview afterwards made him look like a total fucking puss bag. I mean, it's obvious that he cares more about his fucking piece of shit television show on the USA Network than he does about actually driving. Because if he actually cared about driving, he'd do a lot better than he's doing in that fucking 3-car. And the only reason why he's in that car is because he's the grandson of the owner. Well, the favorite grandson of the owner, I'll put it to you that way. Alright, race results and point standings. Top 10 finishers, Christopher Bell with the win, led 42 laps. Chase Elliott finished second. He's on quite the roll. He's the hottest driver in NASCAR right now. He's finished first, second, last 4 races. I mean, that's just insanity. Bubba Wallace with the 3rd place finish. Martin Truex Jr. started from pole, led 172 laps, but lets another New Hampshire race get away from him. Kevin Harvick comes on with a top 5. Yeah, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski with one of his best races of the season. Ross Chastain sneaks in another top 10, as well as Daniel Suarez and Kurt Busch, who's actually not going to be in the Pocono race today because he's suffering from concussion-like symptoms after a qualifying crash yesterday. Finished in the top 10. He is actually qualified for the playoffs at the moment, and he will get a medical waiver as a result. Point standings with 6 races remaining. Chase Elliott continues to extend his lead in the regular season standings over Ross Chastain, who's second, 67 points back. You have Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex Jr., who is actually on the bubble for the playoffs, if you can believe that shit. I mean, that's how fucking stupid this playoff system is, particularly the winning you're in. I mean, Truex Jr. having one of the most consistent seasons of his career, in the top 5 in the point standings, yet might not be eligible to race for the championship. And y'all wonder why I continually shit on this piece of shit fucking playoff system. It's fucking garbage. You have Kyle Larson in 5th, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Christopher Bell, Kevin Harvick, and William Byron in the top 10. The rest of the top 20, Alex Bowman, Eric Almirola, Austin Cindric, Kurt Busch, Daniel Suarez, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, Eric Jones, Denny Hamlin, and Austin Dillon. So NASCAR standings with F1 points. Trucks were off this week, or this past week. So here's what the Xfinity points look like. Justin Allgaier is the new point leader with 304 points. He has an 8-point advantage over Ty Gibbs, although that might change again because I might, after I do the Xfinity points for yesterday's race, that's probably going to change all over again. As Ty Gibbs finished second after a great battle with Noah Gragson. We'll talk about that later. And Allgaier, I mean, he had a good car, but ended up finishing, I think, 6th or 7th. But A.J. Allmendinger's 3rd, Noah Gragson in 4th, tied with Josh Berry. The rest of the top 10 is Austin Hill, Sam Mayer, Brandon Jones, Riley Herbst, and Trevor Bayne. And then you have Daniel Hemrick who's 11th, and only 11 drivers have scored at least 100 points in the Xfinity Series so far. Then you look at the Cup standings. We have a new championship leader in the Cup standings in the F1 style points. and that's Chase Elliott. So he's leading the regular season standings for realsies and in the F1 standings now, although Ross Chastain is still not that far behind. He's 7 points back of Elliott. And the two have pretty much pulled away from everybody else. Then you have Kyle Larson in third with 224, Ryan Blaney with 210, Kyle Busch, who's really gone cold the last month or so. Top five over 200 points, and you have Joey Logano, Christopher Bell, William Byron, Martin Truex Jr., and Tyler Reddick in the top 10. Rest of the drivers that have at least 100 points are Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez, and Chase Briscoe. And the rest of the top 20 is Austin Cindric, Eric Jones, Eric Almirola, and Austin Dillon. As for my final rating for the Ambetter 301, I mean, stages 1 and 2 were fucking garbage. The beginning of stage 3 was great, and you know, you had a 92 lap run to end the race, but the last 40 laps were a fucking nothing burger after Christopher Bell got the lead. The best I can give this race is a 3. I mean, this race was not that good. You know, the fact that people were saying, oh, this is one of the best races of the year. No, you have to take the entire race into account. And, you know, the fact that people just seem to think that, you know, the third stage was great, so the race was great. No, that's not how this works, people. This race was not that good. It's probably one of the most overrated races of the entire season. Seriously. This race was not that good. But, you know, what the fuck else do you expect from a fan base that has low expectations? But that's going to do it for this review. I'm done talking about this race. I'm ready to move on and get ready for Pocono. And hopefully we'll see as good a race in the Cup Series as we saw in the Xfinity race. I mean, Noah Gragson and Ty Gibbs put on one hell of a show in that Xfinity race yesterday. So hopefully we'll see something similar to that in the Pocono race here in about an hour. They actually moved the start time up a little bit, I guess due to potential weather that might come in, even though there's only a 20% chance of it. But, I mean, they shouldn't be starting this fucking late to begin with. I mean, I don't know what's up with these, you know, 3 p.m. start times and all that other shit, but it's ridiculous, especially at a track that has no lights. Whatever. It is what it is. But that's going to do it for this edition of The Fuel. And I'll be back later tonight to review the Pocono race. And hopefully Pocono is a good race. Because with Pocono, it's kind of hit or miss. So, but thank you very much for watching. And until next time, this is the Packerman signing out. See you later. Thank you for watching tonight's video. Be sure to like and subscribe, you jackweeds.